When you say live stream, okay. Well, then I should open this thing by welcoming people to an emergency meeting of the Cumberland County Commissioners on September 29th at 1 p.m. And what the discussion is issues with the jail due to COVID. First, this is kind of how I'd like to operate the meeting, if I might, is that I'll ask Jim to give us some personnel numbers, the personnel number status at the jail as it's been reported. And then I'll ask the sheriff to inform us of his plans to provide jail services to handle the existing condition, which has become critical. And then we'll open it up to questions. A couple of questions that I have is, are we going to be shutting down any pods? And another one that I'll have is what are our options should the situation become worse? Uh, and then any other discussions you've got. But I just thought I'd kind of lay that out. So with that, Jim, would you please give us the status as the county understands the numbers at the jails, at the jail?
Yes, the current day numbers at the jail, there are 9 individuals out due to COVID. They have all tested positive, and they range from a return date from October 4th to October 9th at the earliest. That's tentative. There are 6 jail employees out on FMLA. There are an additional 9 employees that are have FMLA intermittent, means off and on. We have 2 resignations pending with their last day falling somewhere in the first 10 days of October. And we currently have 67 openings at the jail. The current workforce for corrections officers is 129. So if you start deducting those numbers off, you kind of get a clearer picture of what we have for staff for the jail.
Okay. Any questions of Jim? Hearing none. Sheriff, would you kind of lay out for us the status as you see it with the personnel and what you need to provide and what the under the existing conditions, and we'll go from there.
Yes, thanks, Commissioner. Thanks for pulling this meeting together. The command staff and I met this morning. We met yesterday. We conversed over the weekend because we were trying to ramp up various stages of where we were going to go with this should it get worse. And this morning when I came in, I was hit with at least one more individual. When I went home last night, I got word that there were 2 individuals that had tested positive. So that was 3 since I left here physically yesterday. So the plan in place was, as of 6:30 on Tuesday, yesterday, we went into a limited diversion where we were only accepting the arrests that absolutely had to be taken in. Over a 24-hour period, 24 hours plus, we only had 1 arrest. So that's good news, and that the police chiefs did take it serious, and they have. But we all know that we have employees that work for us, and that they have the authority. They're going to do what they're going to do. So that was good news. So what we decided going forward is that at 12 o'clock today, the complete facility was locked down. Before that, it was B2 and C1. Those were our problem pods. Commissioner Gordon, you mentioned we're going to close down a pod. Fortunately, it was going in the reverse direction. Tim can correct me, but I think we're at the possibility of opening a pod because of the fact that we have one pod that is overcrowded because of it being the isolation. We need to put people in isolation, and the quarantine was overcrowded. So unless things have changed, that drove some of the decision making here. Yesterday, I authorized 10 individuals who would otherwise been released in October that are not a public safety threat, that have not committed domestic violence, etc. I authorized them to be released early. The other ones that I did not are either because they're domestic violence related, and that's my line in the sand for that, or they had some public safety threat, or like I mentioned to the Portland chief that I talked to today, they're individuals that would probably get out, and surely they are going to get out at some point, but if I release them today, they probably come back through the door in the next week. So I might as well hold on to them for the next month because they're going to end up here anyway. We met yesterday with the district attorney and his staff, as well as probation and parole, to look at about 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 individuals that have $1,000 bail or more, less, and to see if we could get any of those folks out. Again, some of those folks are repeat offenders, so we could work really hard to get them out, but my guess is that it won't last long. They'll be coming back through the front door. So the district attorney is working with our staff to try to work on that. If we get one out, then that's that, to me, that's a success. Any more than that just adds to that. I have a memo that's ready to go out. We're trying to tie up some loose ends that we discussed today, a full diversion of inmates whereby we're not going to accept anybody. Frankly, I was called last night because the judges want to meet with me because they weren't happy with the fact that we weren't taking judgment and commitments yesterday. And we definitely won't be taking them going forward either. So, but I'm meeting with the judges next Monday to explain to them that I understand and they have things and it's a court order, et cetera, but I have to really look out for our staff. We have to look out for our inmate population. And, this is a balancing act between public safety and public health. And we're trying to do that. So hopefully today, in the next hour or so, we're going to go for a full diversion where police departments, if they have to make arrests, and those are limited, those will follow the same criteria that they were under in the last 24 hours. Only arrests that need to be made. They can choose to go to York County or Two Bridges. I've spoke to all sheriffs, 3 sheriffs. They're fully supportive. Two Bridges is just, I don't even know if they've got clearance from their outbreak from CDC, but they're willing to help us out because of what we're up against. Tomorrow, the jail command staff, this is where we're going to need some, some flexibility. The jail command staff, for the most part, is going to be working the floors and covering posts because we just need to be out there. We've got 304 as of midnight last night inmates in here. That will drop if we can get some of these folks out, but we're still about 300 people that, they're confused, they're frustrated. They've been dealing with this for 16 months. Thankfully, they've cooperated, so we just need to make sure that all of the posts are filled so that we can give our folks a breather. The chief deputy and I have committed ourselves to, we're going to be working one shift this week. We had done that anyway. And then starting next week, I will try to hold down the admin part. Plus, I'll stay and work the evening shifts to give some people a break so that we can kind of spread out the weekend coverage and make sure we cover everything. The question was asked, what about just shutting down the jail completely? It's not like we're a store. It's not like we're a restaurant. We're not even a school. I mean, the people we have here, it's better to keep them here and promote public health and not spread them throughout the other facilities just to offload them. I don't know. Maybe there's a time when we explore that, but I don't think we're there yet. I can tell you that I reached out to the Portland chief, and he, even out of the graciousness, said, is there anything we can do to assist you with manpower? And I said, well, hold that thought, because I'm not there yet, but I might consider that. I'm asking the commissioners to do a state of emergency so that we can not be constrained by collective bargaining issues. And I'm told that if you do that, then I can just take care of the mission. And the mission right now is to keep this place safe, secure, make sure that inmates are treated humanely, make sure that the staff who are tired, worn out, probably burned out, and now with COVID, they get some time to relax and rest. The hiring part has been pretty good. I just ran out, and we have 6 in the pipeline that are certified people that we can, once we get them through the hiring process, we can get them on the floor as soon as possible. We have 3 that are going to be starting in the next week that are certified. So that's going to help us out, including, the numbers that Jim Gailey, ran out, that people coming back from FMLA, coming back from COVID. We think if we can do this and really put our head and our nose to the grindstone for the next 3 weeks, we can do it. I've reduced as much service as we possibly can. We've got 300 plus or minus inmates that would have to go somewhere. There is a fine line between public safety and public health, and I think I've been able to go up to that line and maybe a little over that. If God forbid something would happen, I could justify. But that's about all we have right now. And I guess the only last thing is if with the state of emergency, if that gives me a little flexibility on having to move people around as we see fit and not having to be held completely by the CBA, this might trickle over to law enforcement. This might end up being that my detectives are pushing cruisers as patrol deputies, and those patrol deputies that are certified in corrections might be showing up at the jail to do some correction shifts instead of patrol shifts for a period of time. So that really is where I think we're at. I think that the jail command staff is comfortable with that. I always say that they are the subject matter experts. Their feet are closer to the fire than mine. They seem to be happy with that. And I think that's a good plan for the time being, considering that there's a lot of factors here that nobody can control. So I'll answer any questions that I haven't covered.
Do the commissioners have any questions of the sheriff? Jim, Claudia, you're muted.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Kevin, I have to admit it. When I saw, frankly, after we talked at our last meeting, my sense of unease about this was elevated, I guess would be a way to describe it. I've never been particularly at ease ever since we've encountered so much trouble bringing people into the employment situation at the jail, especially. And we've tried everything, and we couldn't be happier that that the latest go around has created some traction, or it seems like it has, so that things have gone, but they haven't really got us out of the crisis stage by any means. I think we all understand that. My question is whether hearing all of the steps that might be taken, and I will say I'm going to support, of course, a declaration of emergency. Is you lost seems like you lost 20% of your effective staff in the last week, or maybe last half week, with the people that are ill or might be ill, or might be infectious. But we can hope that that's only going to last a week or two. but we really, I think, should not be guessing about this any further than that. So I guess I'm going to ask you to work with. I want your reaction to this, of course, but I'm thinking in concrete terms about what would be approaches to eliminating this problem because it becomes insurmountable. And that does probably talk about closing the jail or closing pods or reducing federal participation or finding other resources or sending people to the Department of Corrections or I really have no sympathy for the judges. We've got dozens of people awaiting trial. They're all pre-trial. Their situation has become so bad. I think that the legislature started granting them good time in the last year or two. It's like, but I do think we need to have an identified action plan for the next step down, which I have a sense from what you've said that there are a few things that could be done, but the plan has not gelled, and maybe it doesn't need to gel just today, but it might need to soon. I have to say also, I'm very disappointed to see the number of people that are not vaccinated that are working for the county down there. And I have started to repeat myself continuously about the fact that we could, if an inmate got sick, and God help us if one of them died, and we're sitting here saying, well, we didn't think we should, protect them from infection. That's how lawyers make their living, is taking a third of that, and it doesn't take too many of those to get you to a retirement. That is such a plainly obvious negligence claim. I'm a little bit at a loss to know what to do about it, but Joe Biden has apparently stepped up to the plate a little bit here, and there's going to be a mandate, and it's not going to be we'll mail in a slip that says our doctor thinks that vaccinations are bots, so that's that's my basic thinking here. I'd love to hear your both you and the command staff how I've got it all wrong and why I should be a lot more complacent about this.
So those are good comments. First of all, Commissioner Cloutier, before we even had COVID, a couple months ago, just on staffing, I reached out to MDOC and just floated out the idea that, hey, we know that we have about a third of the people that are sentenced to county jails, or at least our population. So there's a third of the individuals of the 300, about 100 people that are serving out a sentence that's been given to them by the judges. And the judges are authorized to do that. The law does say may, but they have ordered these people to go to the county jail. So I floated out, not free gratis, but to the commissioner to say, hey, what if I boarded out some state inmates at your facility, for the $65 that we board out our inmates to other counties? And he immediately got back to me and said, well, I'll have my people call your people. And you can talk to Captain Goulet because he's my people. And when he dealt with the commissioner's people, they started backing away from that based on the fact that, hey, these individuals were ordered to serve their sentence at the county jail. So we really can't take them. And I looked at the law because I was going to push it. And I don't have a problem pushing it, but I want to try to land on my feet. And when I looked at the law, I'm not sure this is the case that I could really push the issue on. But I think it's something that in another legislative season, we need to kind of take a look at, because it does say may, doesn't require, but let's face it, if I'm answering to some judges, because we turned away a JNC yesterday, if I start offloading them to MDOC, who doesn't want them in the first place, I'm sure that would be a problem. Now we have COVID, there's an ethical dilemma. And we played that out through other, I'd had sheriffs from New Hampshire that I knew back pre-vaccination that goes, hey, I'd like to come get this guy because we need to move our court system. And I go, I'm not letting anyone go, because if you take this person from our agency or our jail that we have COVID in, you may bring him to your jail, and before you know it, you've got COVID. So let's try to wait a little bit and try to, and we went back and forth, and, it got a little longer. So then I said, well, you know what, Sheriff, come get your guy, because I understand your system is a little different. And we will do everything we can do to make sure that that individual is tested, and we will look back and see, if there are any issues. And we will even ID them, COVID ID test them with the COVID ID now test before they leave. What does that mean? At that moment in time when they were tested, they didn't have COVID. You can come get them if you want to, but I just don't want to be responsible for spreading it into New Hampshire at a New Hampshire jail. So, even right now, the thought of moving inmates, whether it's federal or state, doesn't seem to be the best course of action. Now, I'm not an expert in CDC, but my thought is, okay, if I've got to get out of my chair and go over and help out, keep everything locked down. Don't take anyone in. Don't move people around. Keep everything locked down, and let's try to treat the symptom there the best we can. And any separation we do within the jail, so that we keep those people that haven't been affected from getting affected, and try to limit it there. So that's where we are now. Now, to talk about the vaccinations, I'm going to tell you the truth because I know the truth. Well, I know this for a fact. The medical staff called me yesterday and were giving me the statistics on vaccinated versus non-vaccinated. And approximately 60% of the inmates were not vaccinated that have COVID right now. Now, thankfully, in talking to medical, we don't have anyone with huge symptoms, and we're not on the verge of sending anyone to the hospital. There's really nothing that we can deal with here. What I was concerned about and shocked at is that a majority of the people that are out from our staff are actually vaccinated. So this individual was saying, well, you know what that tells me? That tells me that now we need the booster. And I go, well, help me out with this. I mean, the booster, I'm not sure if it's in or out, it depends on what news channel I listen to, and which doctor has an opinion. So I don't even know where we are in that. And then this person went on to say that he's gone out, and I don't think he meets the age limit, but he's gone out and got the booster, and, good for him. So I can't answer the booster thing, but it may yield that it's time for a booster, because we're all pushing that 6-month period, if the science says that. But I'll tell you right now, if anyone were to ask me, I have to say that a majority of our people that are out that tested positive for COVID have had the vaccination, and nobody that I know of is really, really sick. It's just they've tested positive, and we don't want them transferring it. So that's what I know. That's what I'm telling you. And it's not a political statement one way or another. It's just the facts, I guess.
So I do have one other question about operations down at the jail. What's your assessment of the non-vaccination public health ideas like masks and cleaning and washing and hand cleaning and that kind of stuff? What do you think is the status with our staff and also with inmates?
It's my understanding that with inmates, in some cases, you're after them constantly to put their mask up because it drops down. They're locked down right now in the areas, and it will be. So there's not going to be a lot of human contact with people, which is unfortunate. With staff, the same thing. It's expected that they wear the approved mask. and that they wear it all the time while they're in the secure perimeter and now outside. I mean, we never dropped the mask mandate inside the secure perimeter, even when things were well in May, June, July, August. So that never went away. It was once you were outside the secure perimeter, you know, you were encouraged to wear your mask, but there was no mandate. Now it's mandated in the whole building. As far as washing and hands, I mean, we've installed places where you can get disinfectant for your hands at just about every door. There are signs up, wash your hands vigorously. You know, we've slowly moved away from, you know, if anybody was that tested positive, that we're doing a deep cleaning, because, you know, the only time the CDC recommends a deep cleaning is if we have a problem that we cannot get rid of, and it just lingers and there seems to be a bug, air quotes, a bug somewhere in the jail, then they do recommend a deep cleaning. But, you know, if I test positive, you know, and I go out, that doesn't mean somebody comes in with hazmat suits and cleans my desk and everything I've touched. So that's kind of where we are on that, Commissioner Cloutier. We're kind of following the CDC as much as possible. And admittedly, sometimes we have to just say, you know what, put your mask on, or more often than not, it's pull your mask up over your face because they let it droop down.
Jim, are you through? Are you finished? Susan,
Hi, guys. I'm sorry I'm late, but down here in New Hampshire, there's not a whole lot of cell service. Kevin, a couple of things. It's my understanding that the staff at the jail is not adhering to the mandate that has been given from the county manager regarding the mask. Okay. So that's a concern, because it is a mandate, regardless of where you are. If it's a county building, that our mask is to be worn, even if you're vaccinated. And it's my understanding it's not happening at the jail. And my other concern is, what is the percentage, that we are at, that we are not at the minimum staffing at the jail?
So I'm going to defer to Major Courts on that, because he's got a better working knowledge of the minimum staffing. And I'm going to let them answer for themselves, because if somebody's telling you they're not adhering to the mandate, then they're telling the wrong people, because I can't fix what I don't know.
Okay.
So Commissioner, I'm not aware of anybody not adhering to the mask mandate. Every time I've gone out there, people have worn masks, including myself. Once I leave my office, or if somebody comes to my office, I wear it. In regards to minimum staffing, we adhere to it to the best we can. This weekend, myself and Captain Costello work shifts because, again, we had mandatory testing, which is counted as hours worked through the collective bargaining. So the pool of individuals is very low. Again, the facility was locked in, they were fed inside. So there was limited inmate activity. They came out for showers, and basically that was it. And it was only done by sections. Again, I spoke with the sheriff. Myself and the other two captains will be working line staff positions until the 18th, until we get some of the other individuals back from COVID, in order to make sure that we have enough available staff on the weekends. We have 3 people that are starting in the next 2 weeks, which is 15 shifts. We have talking with HR in the next 2 weeks, we should have at least 9 of the employees back. And then there's 4 FMLAs that should be back in the next 2 weeks. So if we do the diversion with the arrests, that's additional staff that we have down on an intake area that we can redeploy inside the facility.
My next question is, how can so many of the administrative people that have tested positive, how does that happen if you're wearing a mask?
Well, I think that's, one of the things that we can't lose contact with is the fact that these folks go home and they go out and interact with people, and we assume that's all coming from here, but that's an assumption. We're not following people. There's a requirement to wear it here, but there's no requirement to wear it at home or at the supermarket or at the concert or whatever. So we can make assumptions that they're all getting it from here, and I'm sure that most people have gotten it because they've been working and stuff. I've talked to some people that don't believe in the masks. They say and says that masks, don't do it. I'm not the guy that's going to tell you that one works or the other. So what I am telling you is that unlike a school where we get one and we can say, you know what, everyone go home and tune in virtually and we can lock it down. People have to come in and work, and people can follow the mandate, and, we can keep up on them, but things are going to happen because we have to do it every day. I can't have corrections officers work part-time from home, and that's become a problem. I mean, in most arenas, even where we all work, well, not where I work, but where you work, you can work virtually. These guys have to come in and have contact. So, I think that we can't link the two together. And I'll be the first one to tell you, we've been pretty aggressive. We've been pretty lucky. But this was coming because it's like, saying, how can a COVID attack a nursing home? Well, it's just gonna, because you've got a condensed amount of people in one area and there's no options.
Thank you. Sue, you have further questions?
Well, my other concern is I don't see how we can have a county or a building and have so much COVID if the mandates of the mask. For an example, the courthouse has all kinds of people. I don't recall of how many people in the courthouse are actively with COVID. And there's a lot more people at the courthouse than at the jail. And I just don't understand how it's happening at the jail. And I understand, like with the inmates and all of that. Well, but I'm not talking with the inmates. I'm talking staff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Staff have to interact with inmates. I had some patrol deputies the other day that had to do CPR on people that were known COVIDs, patients. And they were questioning whether or not there was any guidance on that. We had to look that up. They have to do their job, even if a person has COVID, even if the person chose to have the vaccination or not. If somebody goes down, if an inmate goes down, whether or not they've had a vaccination or not, whether or not a corrections officer had a vaccination or not, there's an expectation they're going to do their job. They're going to try to do it safely, but this would be a great thing if we didn't have to deal with people, but we're in the people business, and the people business requires you sometimes to get up front with people. Thankfully, we haven't had a case where somebody's wrestling around and gets their mask taken off, but that could happen. I mean, that's why I try to educate people when they say, oh my God, you guys must have a lot of things going on. I go, if I were a restaurant, I'd close down a portion and only serve certain people, tell them they got to wait 30 minutes. Life would go on. They'd be upset that they go on. Here, I can't tell people to wait 30 minutes. I can't shut down a portion of the jail. I'd love to. And in most cases, we're opening it up to try to keep people away from other people so that we can, in the end, I can stand out in front of the public and say, I've done everything we possibly can, but I'm in a business where there are very few options beyond what we've done here. We can get radical and send people out, but if we send the COVID out other areas, then, I'm answering to why did you do that when you had them encapsulated and you could have treated right then? So I'm not saying we're perfect. I will tell you, I think there's a lot more people at the Cumberland County Jail with 300 people and all of the employees working under the current circumstances than there is in the courthouse. Because it's my belief there's not a lot going on in the courthouse that can't be done virtually, and good for them that they can do that. We can't do it.
Let me interject something here. This is my understanding from the medical community about vaccines. The vaccine protects the individual in this way, is that if you come in contact with it again, you may get it, but it's at a it lessens the impact on the individual. And in some cases, you don't even know you have it, but you can still be a carrier. The mask helps you prevent from transferring it to another individual. Likewise, if you are an individual that's not vaccinated, the mask assists in not getting it. So the mask is required whether you've had a vaccine or not, if we're going to really take care of this thing. And that's why, to Sue's point, and I believe that the commissioners, when they agreed to the mandate of masks in all facilities that the county has, that it's imperative that it's followed. Sorry for the interjection, but I think there's some confusion there, at least as I was listening to it. Do other people have questions of the sheriff? Let me see. There's a couple of things that came forward to me when the sheriff when Kevin, you were talking, is that you talked about exhaustion of your staff, and now because of the situation, you're requiring the staff to even perform a greater task during this period, and they are exhausted. And if this was going on for another 3 weeks, at what point do we have to say enough is enough for these people, so that we can pull back and run as we should with this situation? My fear is, you talk about public safety and public health. Well, certainly public health is one thing, but I think we're starting to get, from the numbers that I'm accumulating in my head here, we're getting to a situation where it's going to be dangerous. And then if it's not already, and then you've got people that are exhausted, and they're even asked to perform to a greater amount. And so they're not on the top of their game, which is just the wrong end too, as far as performing the job. I don't know if one of your people that report to you can answer what their feeling is, but at some point, I think we've got to say enough's enough. We shut the place down, as you're saying, but we've also got to stop the issue of people getting the disease, and we've also got to make allotments for getting people in to solve this. You're talking about, I think you said 3 weeks. Well, what do we do in 3 weeks when that doesn't happen? I mean, at some point, these people not only become worn out, but they just can't exist. Their family life's gone. They're whatever. And I'm not saying that you caused that. I'm just that's the result that we've got to work with and for and against to get it out. Can I have some feeling from the staff here? At what point do we just say enough?
So I'll answer the first part, and then they can talk at a more micro level. First of all, that's why the command staff is going to be working on the floors instead of working at their job, is to try to give people breaks to do that. That is why, and they've been doing it periodically, trying to come in and cut people loose. But this is going to be 40 hours worth. Basically, everything else is probably more than 40 hours, because I'm sure there's some people who are going to come in and take care of business that has to be taken care of. Same thing with the chief deputy and I've got a plan if we get too bad that, like I mentioned before, I've got some certified corrections officers that are patrol deputies, and we'll cover the contracts because we're mandated, and we'll put a couple people out doing the rural parts that don't have contracts. But the reality is, mission first is I've got to make sure the jail stays operational, and that we don't spread COVID around and people are healthy. So that's a plan on the shelf. I'm not there yet. I'm sure that people would be concerned about that. You know, I work in patrol. I don't want to do it, but we got to take care of business. Like I said before, you know, Paul PD's all, you know, opened up to potentially doing that. I don't think we're there yet. So I will kick it to either Captain Goulet or Captain Costello or Major Courts to talk about the feeling of their people being tired.
Commissioner, you know, they're capped at an amount of overtime. They only can work 3 shifts of overtime. Again, I'm not happy about the situation of the force overs and how it affects the home life balance. Again, I think with this break, if it doesn't get resolved by the 18th, then I'm willing to volunteer myself and the command staff to go further, because again, we take up at least 15 shifts that people will get forced over. When it comes to the hiring process, it looks like we're getting a little headway with at least certified correction officers, that there is no training that we can put right on the floor with 40 hours. Again, hopefully we get more, from what I understand, because of the recent advertising over at Wyndham, we're getting a lot more responses regarding certified correction officers. If the diversion needs to be extended and we don't get the staff back, you know, we've had a discussion with one other county about ordering other inmates or another county facility. Again, because of the COVID situation, we're kind of in a stay pat situation because nobody wants to take our inmates right now. Again, I understand that the staff, we have a limited group and the burden is on them. But again, I have no problem at all making suggestions that are drastic to the sheriff to preserve the well-being of the current staff. And again, my goal is to keep a safe and secure facility for the offenders of the staff here. And again, I think with the safeguards that we've put in place, I think the 18th is a good gauge to see where we're at. And if we have to extend it, we have to extend it.
Ugh, I guess my concern there is that, so the plan that you're putting in place is going to offer some relief to people so that they are going to start to move out of this area of exhaustion. And I realize it's an impossible question to answer, but that again is my concern. Neil, I think you raised your hand.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Kevin, what steps are necessary or can you take to work with the union to override the current contract in this state of emergency, if necessary? And is it necessary?
I think it is necessary, and I'm hoping, the way I understand it is, if the commissioners declare a state of emergency, and, you know, we've been talking about this, but I'm not one to push the panic button, and, you know, and I don't know that I'm in panic mode, but if the state of emergency were to be declared by the commissioners, my understanding is that I don't have to follow the CBA. I'll treat people fairly, but sometimes you're just going to move people around to get the job done, you know, and we try to consider that anyway. But, you know, for instance, I've got 2 individuals that we need some help on the weekends, and 2 individuals, because of their job classification, makes them ripe for moving them to weekends when I've got people with less seniority that could move to weekends, and we could treat these individuals like the people that they are, that have worked 35 years. But the way the contract is, they would have to be uprooted, and we would leave somebody that, you know, has been in for 5 or 6 years. Not that that's that's not good for them that they've given us that service, but, you know, it just doesn't seem fair. So, you know, that's one example of something that I've been trying to say, well, why don't we move these people that have got 30 some odd years to something on day shift, and take the people on day shift that has less seniority and move them to the weekends. And it's like, well, we can't do that because of the contract. Well, it's either seniority or it's not senior. I mean, I just don't know. So I'm hoping that, Commissioner Jameson, that, a state of emergency will allow us to kind of plug holes. I'll use another example. I've got a corrections officer right now tied up doing court paperwork. It was something that was put into place 20, 30 years ago. It's a NCEU person. I need them in the jail, but I can't fix that. And there's a hearing now about that going on as we speak. But I would move him immediately over to the jail and backfill with a detective to do the court paperwork just to get the mission done that everyone needs to get done. But I can't do that because of the collective bargaining. And I'm not saying that collective bargaining isn't a good thing. I'm just saying that it puts up hurdles. And I find myself getting issues brought by the union. And then when I try to fix them, go, well, you can't do that. It's like, so how do I fix that? So I'm hoping, that we can kind of wrestle with this. And I guess while I got the floor, I'm going to go back to the mask thing. If there's somebody that feels like somebody's not wearing a mask, then I would encourage Commissioner Witonis to have that person put it to paper and get it to me so that we can look into it, check into it. We have video. We can find out who's not doing it so we can take care of the problem. I don't think you can lob balls out there hoping something attaches without letting us look into it. So I just throw that out.
Thank you.
Chairman, Sheriff, I will, as the manager and talking with a number of staff that go in and out of your facilities down there, there are a number of reports that come back to the courthouse that mask wearing is not 100% down there. As you see, Amy and I are in my office today. We wear a mask. That's protocol. That's mandated. It is not a common practice down there. And I have employees reporting that to me who are not LEC and jail employees. So, and there are many reports of that. So just want to clarify that. If you want names, we'll start gathering names.
Yes, absolutely.
Ooh. Okay. Any further questions? Tom, you've been a little bit quiet. No? Okay. 3 weeks.
I've been listening. Yeah, I've been listening to the conversation, and I've learned a lot. I'm a little bit troubled by some sort of equivocation around masking and vaccinations in some parts of county government. We really need to get everybody vaccinated. And I leave it up to staff to figure out how to do that. Vaccinated people, clearly some of them still catch COVID, but the statistics are that with the vaccination, you're not, somewhere in the upper 90% protected. Still going to have some breakthrough cases, but they're going to be mild. So if part of this problem is unvaccinated people, we really need to look at that. And masking, we've talked that to death, and I hear that we are very supportive of that, and we just need to redouble our efforts to do that. I'm perfectly happy to vote for a state of emergency to let the sheriff get on with the job. I agree with him. This is I'm a firm believer in collective bargaining agreements, but this is a time that's really causing us a lot of grief and a lot of danger to our staff and to the people that we are responsible for, and we need to be able to react to it flexibly. So if such a motion is made, I'll be happy to vote for it.
Thank you. Jim Cloutier.
This is really, Kevin, for you and your command staff. I feel like I want to be very clear about what I think, where I think we're sitting. I've listened very closely to what you all have had to say, and frankly, I was about ready to leap off the shelf or the ledge or whatever it was, and maybe I'll have a snack first before I do. I guess based on what you've had to say, I think there's some short-term plans that could help if nothing else goes wrong. And we all know how reliable that prospect might be. I will say this. When I was on the Portland City Council back before the invention of dirt, we faced a series of statewide referenda where people wanted to roll back property tax, and it was kind of the first of the Tea Party kinds of ideas, and it would have been a tremendous change in local government in Maine, and it would have hamstrung us completely. And we never did this publicly, but we very quietly, in the face of those proposals, which hadn't passed, but which we're going to go for a vote, we planned how we would reduce local government expenditure by 25%. And we had a very, frankly, difficult to derive, but comprehensive deal of litany of the things that we would actually do and how we would actually cope. And I actually led that effort because I was the finance chair for a couple of the years that was on the table. I feel like we need to be in the same situation here. We need to know that you, we, all of us know how we're going to close up the shop if we have to. And that frankly is true for the jail mostly, but it also applies pretty clearly to at least some elements of law enforcement, and probably applies at least to the communication center. And you can tell by walking through the door that that kind of situation has prevailed at the courthouse for a while in various ways. Sometimes there's nobody there but Jim and Travis on the phone. In months past, it's a little more populated now than that, but there have been times when if you called the probate office, you were ringing through to Gorham or Cape Elizabeth or someplace, because that's how the staffing was done. And you're right, you don't have that option, at least as to the jail. But I do feel the need. You've got plenty of other things to do, but I think that we need to be confident that we're not going to be faced with chaos if we do end up with a step down from here. So that's my first comment. And my second comment, I'm wondering if anybody knows what is the cohort of our employees in the jail who are not vaccinated. My point of view actually includes the belief that there's a public safety responsibility for all of our employees in the jail to be vaccinated, but that's probably a topic for another go around. It certainly, to me, affects both public safety and our own, liability for damage if anybody should actually have an adverse series of events or circumstances as a result of either being incarcerated or coming to the jail for whatever other reason and contracting an infection. But I would like to, if anybody knows what the basis is for understanding who's vaccinated and who isn't, and whether there is a basis for knowing that, and what the numbers are, I would be interested to know.
Added to what Jim is indicating, or to reinforce it, as we all know, the president has issued a mandate, and it's just a matter of time before it's implemented. So we're not pushing something, or we're not asking something that's not going to occur. It's just in the future. And if it's going to be done in the future, why not now? Because we get that additional protection for the individual who gets vaccinated and those who are unvaccinated in the population of the jail. Second comment I have, I've read this state of emergency, and I just want to make sure that I understand that it does what we need to have it do. It looks like it's saying the state of emergency at the county jail. Is that the requisite under which all the decisions have to be made, and is that how it's housed, or can you reach out to other people in the sheriff's department to assist also? Can somebody comment on that? I guess not.
Commissioner Don Goulet, I know that the major, we've talked, all the other sheriff's departments are in the same boat. They're either understaffed, but some of them are also facing an outbreak situation. And DOC, and sometimes the sheriff gets worried because sometimes I don't have a filter. But DOC, since I've been over here and since the pandemic has started, has been zero help to us. And we've asked a couple of times, most recently because of our staffing issue. So for an example, they get it both ways, meaning when they're in an outbreak situation, they don't take their inmates. And then when we're in an outbreak, they don't take their inmates. So right now we have 6 DOC inmates that they will not take until the CDC fully clears us. So that 6 will grow. And again, the clearance is we need to have two sets of testing in which no one tests positive, both inmates as well as staff. And we haven't gone through one round, but that hasn't happened. So that clock keeps resetting each time. So 30 days. So sorry, long-winded thing to basically say that we have no help because everyone's kind of in the same situation for different reasons or some of the same reasons.
And I guess I make the assumption that DOC has the ability to say, no, we won't take a judicially sentenced prisoner, which is our responsibility.
I guess. I mean, again, I'm the hothead out of the group. I'm happy to stick them on a bus, drive them up there and just drop them off and see what happens, but I'm told I can't do that. So for the other Commissioner Cloutier, you were talking about the vaccines. Just for the rest of the commission, just know that since vaccines have become available, Armor Medical keeps vaccines on site. The inmates are routinely asked if they want to be vaccinated. If they do, then the Tanisha, who's the director of nursing, sets up another clinic to get a group of people vaccinated. We continually offer our staff, even though our contract with Armor doesn't require them to be our medical provider, if you will, for our staff, but they have vaccinated staff if staff does want it. Again, we've encouraged staff to go see their PCP or go to a Walgreens or wherever to get it. But we have done our staff also. So that's been ongoing since the vaccine has become available. And then in terms of the numbers, and Amy may have to correct me a little bit, but inmate wise, we run around 40% for vaccination. And one of the things you have to remember is our population is cyclical. So it's constantly changing. And my guess would be, since we've started this, we'll probably really never be much better than that. Just because of that, the type of population that we deal with. And for staff, last number I saw, I think we were around 50%. It might be a little higher, but and I put that with an asterisk because, as Amy has explained to me, we do have some staff that are in the conspiracy theory group. So some of them have shared with me that they're vaccinated, but they're not giving HR the vaccination card because they don't feel that they have any right to have it. So we tell them that you're going to be considered unvaccinated if anything happens. So those are some of my fill in the blank answers.
So, well, God, it strikes 50%. I hope. God, that's low. You know, it really is, and especially in Cumberland County. 95% of the people over 65 are vaccinated in Cumberland County, or 94%, something like that, and in the high 80s for post 18 adults, or mid 80s at least. It's kind of surprising to me that it could possibly be that low. And how somebody would pick to not be vaccinated when they're attending work at a place where 40% of the inmates are the only ones that are vaccinated seems crazy to me too. Well, anyway, maybe OSHA is going to take care of that, and maybe we are. I don't know. I appreciate the information, and frankly, hearing it, I'm astonished that we haven't had major additional problems down there. And the problem is that with this current variant, we're fighting a considerably better armed foe than we did a year ago.
Well, Jim, you made a remark that I'll say maybe in a broader way. Are prisoners going to come under the presidential mandate?
I'm sorry, Steve. I meant to say, part of what I hope the planning will include now is some kind of isolation procedure for people that at least for inmates that decline vaccinations, and they should be offered, certainly offered. And I don't suppose we'll wander into the thicket of understanding whether that can be compelled, but I do feel the need for some considerable more vigor in vaccination and pandemic related prevention and issues here.
Susan, you're muted.
Okay. Well, my question is, if the commissioners, I will vote, to support, this emergency plan. Do you have a plan that you can share with us with how it would override the union?
Let me suggest something here. If we're going to start to talk about that, I think we should be in an executive session, because we're talking about a whole bunch of issues that we don't know about, and I don't think are settled yet. So I would ask you to hold that. What?
What do you mean not was settled yet? I mean, that
Well,
if
I'm not sure that the finite issues are solved, or the answers of how they might be used are solved.
Oh, okay. But is there a plan?
I guess that's the sheriff's to answer.
I laid out a plan earlier.
Okay.
I talked about potential things going forward. And that's why I tried to be specific of potential things going forward. But to reiterate, the plan would be complete shutdown of intake this afternoon, complete lockdown of the facility. Jail command staff will start working 40 hours a week. It'll start tomorrow, but it won't be complete 40. It'll probably be pretty close, because the command staff has been coming in at various hours throughout the day, throughout the weekends, et cetera, to try to provide some relief. that in addition to them, the chief and I, and maybe some others might, will likely go over and work as well. That we will continue to look at releasing people. I mean, right now, I think we're kind of released all that we're going to be able to release legally or public safety wise, but we'll look at that. We're trying to rush through the hiring and not cut any corners on that. So we have a lot, like I said, we have 6 people that are certified. So those are good people that we're trying to focus on and get those through. There's about 11 others that are not certified. Those 11 others, if we can get them through the process, they're good candidates. They may not go to the academy until November or January, but we will put them to work in the jail doing things that they can do without a certification. We have one individual that I gave the authority to, the academy just needs the alert test before they go to the academy. So this individual wants to take the alert test when they get here. So I said, well, okay, as long as we give it to them when they get here, let's try to latch onto that person. So, we're doing a lot of outside the box thinking about how we can, cover the spots that we need to do.
Okay, thank you.
Sheriff, do you foresee the juggling of the schedule exceeding the 72 hours a week that an employee can work under the contract?
I'm going to defer to Major Courts as he's got a closer eye on that.
Manager, so I revert back to the York County language for state of emergency, which they invoke when it comes to a staffing crisis about filling shifts. So basically, they eliminate the cap. They have the authority to call the individuals in to relieve people. Days off, they're mandated to call people in on their days off. Again, this is some collective bargaining language that is outlined in their contract regarding state of emergency.
Thank you, Major.
And I will just add that I feel committed that if somebody's got a vacation coming up, we're gonna, again, if we have to work, if I have to work to make sure they get their vacation because they planned it, then, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get the job done. I mean, that's the nature of our business, is to fix problems, and this is a problem.
Okay. I guess we can handle one piece of business here. I'd like a motion to accept the declaration of emergency in Cumberland County.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? Jim?
Just wanted to ask Alex, actually, not just about that, but everything that's been discussed. Is there, we all know that there's a relationship between overtime and benefits and employment costs, and they kind of counteract against each other. Other than that kind of financial impact, do you think we're facing any change in financial circumstances of note as a result of going forward with this kind of approach to the problem?
So that reminds me of a comment that I almost made at our last meeting, which was, and I said it sort of in a gallows humor, where I said, hey, remember when our biggest problem was not having enough money? How nice does that sound to everyone right about now? And it applies here as well. The jail staffing is so far below where it needs to be that there's not a budget issue going on right now. That's just not on our list of concerns at the moment. We have much bigger things, and we have tools at our disposal that we can use to pull our way out of this. In the short term, that's not our issue. We just need to not do things that would carry on for years and years and cost us money down the road. But as long as we don't do that in the short term, we can manage lots of different things. If that's the best answer. I think that's kind of the best answer I can give there, but
No, that's good enough for me, for sure. Thanks.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes, sir.
if I could refer you to the second page of the declaration of emergency for the jail.
Yeah.
A motion might be for the last sentence there. The emergency declaration signed on the 29th day of September, and go from there. Because it brings in that it will expire by Halloween, October 31st. So I've only put like a 5-week duration on this emergency.
Okay, so we've got, so I guess what we need is, do we need to just create a new motion, or do we need to do the, Neil?
I'll amend my motion.
Okay. So the amended motion is the emergency declaration signed as of today in the year of 2021, which may expire on or before the 31st of October, is accepted by the county commissioners.
No, that's not what it reads.
I realize, unless otherwise amended or terminated by the county commissioners.
There we go.
Do I have the second?
I'll
Accept.
second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Jim Cludier.
I was looking at it and I was listening, and I don't think I understood what just happened. If somebody can run through it for me.
Well, my understanding is, Jim, we passed a motion to accept the state of emergency for Cumberland County Jail. What Jim Gailey indicated, our manager, was that he needed the specific dates in there so that it not only starts, but it ends.
Oh,
Well,
so why doesn't it say which shall expire on October 31 unless otherwise amended or terminated by the county commissioners?
it says on or before.
Yeah. May
How does it,
expire.
how does it expire on or before a date? You know, that would be a declaration by somebody that it's no longer in force. I don't know.
Well, it gives us the authority to terminate it prior to. It's on or
Okay.
before, right?
Yeah, and it says that in the last phrase anyway, but I think the on or before, which may expire. How about which shall expire on October 31 unless otherwise amended or terminated by the county commissioners?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah. And if necessary, an amendment to the amendment, if you need it.
Okay. Yes, we do. Okay, thank you. Sue, you agree to the second?
Yes,
Okay.
I was just
Any
reading.
other discussion? Can I have a roll call vote, please?
All right, Commissioner Whittier,
Yes,
Commissioner Howard,
Yes,
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes,
Commissioner Watonis,
Yes,
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Mm.
Do we have anything further on this issue we wish to discuss? Jim Cludier.
I don't want to try to fashion this on the fly, but I did want to mention to the sheriff, to the manager, to the staff, to the command staff, sometime around the time that the next county commissioners meeting agenda comes out, I'm probably going to be looking to implement the things that I mentioned about, having a fallback plan in place and the outlines of it known to all to deal with further problems, especially hearing that as much as half of the staff down there is not vaccinated and more than half of the inmates routinely are not. I mean, that to me It's a fairly volatile situation. And then as well, I think it falls on the commissioners to find ways to encourage, maybe ahead of any mandate, our employees to think that vaccination is a good idea. But that's a matter for us, and it's not really a matter for this afternoon, I wouldn't think. Thank you.
I have a question.
Commissioner Watonis.
When this gets out to the public, will there be a person or will persons who will be responding, to the media? Because I don't think that we all should be responding, to the media. Are we going to have a contact person, or what are we going to do there?
I guess I'll refer that to the manager.
Sorry, Commissioner, but I didn't hear a single thing Commissioner Watonis said.
Oh,
I was asking if we are going to have a contact person, to take care of with the media, once that this gets out.
Well, the media will probably direct their comments or questions to the sheriff, as I think that is a common pipeline for the local media, is to go right to the sheriff's office, seeking comment from the sheriff himself.
But we don't want everybody else,
So I guess I would speak operationally if it gets somewhere out of,
Okay.
something that should be commissioner oriented, then, I'll stay in my lane on that. Let's face it, there's a couple of things. Yeah, I'll get out. But see, the unfortunate thing here is this, our brethren in law enforcement, people find out about this and then they go, you know what, I'm not going to get arrested anyway, or whatever. So, I'm not going to advertise it.
But yeah,
Because I think that, this is not something you put out a press release on, because it just tells those people down at Bayside that Portland has to deal with and everywhere else that, you know what? Fair game for the next 3 weeks. And I'm not saying for everybody, but, so I would just recommend that if it happens, it happens, no problem. I'm not hiding anything, but on the flip side, I don't want to advertise it because there are people that will use this to their benefit.
but aren't you going to have to put it out to all the departments?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I got pushed back about 3 weeks ago. I shared with the county manager on the fact that I was even considering it. I didn't even hit send yet. And there was one agency that was really concerned. And I pushed back on that, basically saying that, hey, if your department was cut by 50%, you'd be telling your city council and your constituents that, look, I'm below 50% on police officers. So there's going to be a lot of things that we're not going to be able to do because we don't have the staff. And once we get back to staffing, we'll be back at it. But I'm going to take care of our officers first. And that's what I told the particular chief is, I'm taking care of my officers if I have to. And I'm sorry if you feel bad about not being able to do your job, but not everything revolves around you. So.
No, that's fine.
If I get called, and I hope I don't, then I'm not likely to say no comment. But
Yeah.
I'll give them your phone number.
Because
if you
Jim,
want me
you
to.
never say no comment.
Yeah, you never, no, don't give him my phone number. I'm off the grid. I'm in New Hampshire.
I'll give him Travis. I'll give him Travis's. phone.
Travis's.
Right.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, let take a hint from Sue, and if it's to the commission, we'll direct them to Travis.
Travis, yeah.
Yeah, okay. To Jim's point, I'd like to be a little more specific. Sheriff, at the next meeting of the commission, I'd like to have a status report of the numbers. And I think probably at least some outline of a plan for what's going to happen in the future here.
Yeah, for clarification, because I
Yeah.
It sounded like, a plan for vaccinating and stuff like that. I will say this, we have vaccinations on hand here that medical is willing to provide vaccinations for inmates and employees who want it. And believe it or not, every once in a while when this picks up, there are people that decide maybe I should go get vaccinated. So, we have a plan in place right now. Everybody who comes through the jail, is offered a vaccination, inmates. We have J&J for that. And the reason we pick J&J is one and done. We don't have to track them if they get released within the 28-day period that some of the vaccinations have. So I'm not sure we can do any more than that. I know you guys have taken some action on that aspect of trying to encourage vaccinations of the staff, but I'm not sure what I can provide on a plan other than, to do what we've been doing right along and to double down on the mask one. But I'll come up with something and you'll definitely get an update.
Well, I ask you to work with the manager, please, too. Dawn,
Yeah, sorry, I gotta throw my operational hat on. If any of the commissioners or the manager, if the media does talk to you, would you just kind of keep in mind that our inmates watch the news, listen to the news? And not that you can sugarcoat this very much, but we're trying to, they kind of know what's going on, but we're not being, I just don't want them to know how staffing depleted we are. So if you can figure out a way to sugarcoat it a little bit, so when it goes out that it doesn't sound like we're in dire straits. My only comment.
well, just to address that remark, you realize we're live on YouTube.
Oh, I guess I didn't know that, but okay.
If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cloutier,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Matonis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes, it's and thank you, gentlemen, and Susan, for getting together at such a short notice. I really appreciate it. It shows that the county commissioners are a team. And thank you, Kevin, for being forthright with us. I am concerned, though, that there seems to be a difference in who's wearing masks and who isn't wearing masks down there. And I'm sure that your cadre of people at the top will look into that. With that,